Whispers from the attic. I hadn't returned to my childhood home in almost 2 decades, not since my mother passed. But when the call came from the lawyer that the estate was finally settled, I had no choice. I arrived late in the evening, the sun barely a memory behind the thick clouds, and the old Victorian house stood before me like a decaying monument of my past. Its sagging roof and peeling paint should have deterred me, but something, curiosity, nostalgia, guilt, drew me in. Inside, it smelled like rot and dust, mixed with that strange metallic scent I could never place. Everything was just as I remembered it. The worn-out furniture, the faded wallpaper, and that grand, spiraling staircase that led up to the second floor, and beyond that, the attic. I hated that attic. As a child, it terrified me. I would hear things up there, scratching sounds, faint whispers, especially at night. My mother always dismissed my fears. "Old houses creak," she'd say, her voice always so cold, so dismissive. But I knew better. There was something in the attic, something alive. The first night back, I slept restlessly in the guest room. It was the only room that didn't feel oppressive. But then, in the dead of night, I woke up. At first, I thought it was just the wind rattling the window, but then I heard it, whispering. My heart pounded as I lay there, paralyzed, listening. It was faint but unmistakable, a constant murmuring, just on the edge of hearing, coming from above, from the attic. I tried to tell myself it was my imagination, that I was too old to be afraid of some old, creaky house. But the whispers wouldn't stop. They grew louder each night until it felt like they were pressing in on me, wrapping around me like an icy shroud. By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was making the sound. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and a rusty old crowbar I found in the garage, I climbed the stairs to the attic. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle of the attic door. It was colder than I remembered, much colder. I hesitated for a moment, my mind screaming at me to turn back, but I had to know. I pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. It was suffocating, like something had been rotting up there for years. I gagged and covered my mouth, stepping into the pitch-black space. My flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows across the dusty floor and forgotten furniture. And then, there they were, the whispers. Clear, persistent, as if dozens of voices were all talking at once. But I couldn't understand a single word. The sound seemed to come from the far corner, where an old, rotting chest sat. I hadn't seen that chest before. It didn't belong to us. I was sure of it. With shaky hands, I approached the chest. The whispers grew louder, almost urgent, as if whatever was inside didn't want me to open it. But I couldn't stop. I knelt down, placed the crowbar under the lid, and pried it open. The stench was overwhelming. I staggered back, covering my nose as I peered inside. What I saw made my blood freeze. Bones. Human bones. But not just bones. Tiny, frail bones. Child-sized. A scream lodged in my throat, but before I could move, the whispers exploded into a deafening cacophony. I dropped the crowbar and staggered back, tripping over my own feet. The voices weren't just whispers anymore. They were shouting, angry, accusing. I turned to flee, but the door slammed shut with a thunderous bang. The flashlight flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows across the walls, as if the very air was alive and writhing. I banged on the door, screaming for help, but no one came. The voices were all around me now, louder, clearer. Then I heard a voice, one that cut through the others like a knife. "Mama!" I froze. My skin turned to ice as the tiny, childlike voice echoed in the darkness. I turned slowly, shining the flashlight toward the chest. Standing there just beside it was a little girl. She looked no older than 6, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes hollow pits of darkness. She wore a tattered dress, her skeletal arms hanging limply at her sides. "Mama," she whispered again, taking a step toward me. I backed away, my heart hammering in my chest. "No, I'm not." The room was spinning now. The voices surrounded me, suffocating me. And then I saw her, my mother standing in the corner, her face twisted in a sick, unnatural smile. "You left her here," she said, her voice venomous. You left her to die! I screamed, stumbling backward, my mind shattering as the truth crashed over me. This girl, this child, she was mine. The one I had forgotten, the one I had abandoned in the attic all those years ago. But I had no memory of it, none. The last thing I heard before the darkness swallowed me was the sound of her tiny, brittle bones snapping as she reached for me. And the whispers, they never stopped.